Well, good morning, our Redeemers. It is so good to tell this story again. I usually use this with confirmation students, and I make them act it out, but you guys are just as good as any pubescent tweens could ever hope to be. So now that you all have such familiarity with the characters again, I want you to think for a moment, who are you? Not who you were just now, necessarily, in the story, but in your life. Who are you in the story? Are you the robber? Because we've all robbed someone, or lied, or belittled someone at some point in our lives. Just think about a time when perhaps you may have stolen someone's joy. See, there it is. Oh, right. Or maybe you're the priest. Hi. Holding your standards and your rules and your traditions higher than someone else's desperate need. Or maybe you're the Levite, so sure of your inheritance, so entitled that it must be someone else's job to help this person. Why isn't someone helping them? Maybe you are the innkeeper, asked to take on someone else's burden. Or are you the Samaritan, going out of your way to aid someone who in any other scenario would probably not accept your help? Thank you very much. Or perhaps, just perhaps, you are the human in the ditch, the one who's beaten and robbed and left for dead. Maybe. Lord knows we can all relate to that feeling on occasion. Where do you see yourself in the story? Where do you see others? And how often do we truly see where others are in this kind of a parable? Do we truly see them? A friend of mine recently told me a story about her daughter that I can totally relate to. When she was about 12, her daughter had left a spoon out on the carpet outside of her bedroom door. It had fallen out of a bowl or something that she was carrying, and it was just there. And so my friend and her partner decided that they would wait to see how long it took her to notice the spoon. After a month, they couldn't stand it anymore, and so they pointed the spoon out to her, and she was literally shocked. She had seen it. They had watched her step over it multiple times, but she hadn't actually seen that it was there. I wonder how often in our lives we're just tooling along, right? Driving in our preferred routes, and we miss actually seeing people fully as they are. It's like the salutations we use in our daily lives, right? Oh, hey, Fred, how's it going? Oh, fine, Jim, it's fine. How's the wife? Oh, fine, well, it's good to see you. Yep, take care now. We go through these motions, right, of daily life, or out of familiarity or out of obligation, or about when you're driving in your car. Do you ever do this where you get on autopilot, and then you can't remember as you've cruised through the intersection if the light was actually green, or if you're just really lucky that nobody was coming because you weren't totally present? Has anyone else ever done that? It happens all the time, these kinds of just moving through without seeing. It takes a certain level of intentionality, a certain amount of slowing down out of all of our important things that we have to do to really see the people around us and where they might be finding themselves in this parable. Better yet, how do we become the people that see the spoon in the hallway and pause to pick it up, wash it, and put it away? For crying out loud, as a parent, I'm ready for that to happen anytime. But in life too, rather than just stepping around things that we run across. Paul, in his letter to the Colossians that Andrew read for us earlier, uses two interesting groups of three value-added words to address what Christian life might look like to that young church. The first set of three words is in verses 4 and 5, and you can look with me if you want to. It's up to you. But the words are faith, love, and hope. Familiar, right? The big three, right? The reason many of us find our way into the church, the anchor, faith, love, and hope. But Paul is writing, I believe, to encourage the Colossians, that church, to move from merely hearing the gospel of Jesus and its faith, love, and hope to walking and living deeper in Jesus through knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, which is in verse 9. You can see the verbs change, you can see the content change in this letter. Like he's encouraging them to move from this thing that was given to them in the word initially to being able to let it fully infiltrate and impact their lives and their choices. Faith, hope, and love are so vital, right, to our soul's survival in these chaotic days. But knowledge and wisdom and understanding are action-taking words. They're experiential. They come as we move through our lives together. That's how you get knowledge. That's how you get wisdom. That's how you get understanding. I had a teacher in 10th grade, Ms. Noah. Her first name was Pearlie. She was great. Ms. Noah suffered no fools. And she would say, she had a plaque on her desk that said, wisdom comes from, It said, good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. Right? And I remember that in this same way, that how do we develop wisdom? We develop wisdom through having to make a lot of decisions and learning what works. Right? This is what Paul is encouraging us towards in our lives of faith, to move toward action based on the growth in our depth of our understanding of God's will for us. And what is that will? That we love our neighbors as ourselves, right? So then what does it mean to love our neighbor? The lawyer is not far off in this parable asking that question. Jesus asked the lawyer in the story, which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? And he said, the one who showed him mercy. This story is known as the Good Samaritan story, right? There's laws based on this story. But there's no place in this text where the word good appears. It's not in there. Did you notice? That's us turning that back around. It might better be dubbed the merciful Samaritan. But that's hard for us to hear because a Samaritan was a person that would have been seen as lower class, less than. And to be merciful is defined by Oxford as having compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone with whom it is in one's power to punish or harm. And in this story, the Samaritan is clearly not the one with the power, my friends. And yet, the lawyer can recognize him as being the one who has the capacity, who actually showed mercy, as opposed to the powerful in this story who did not. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., from his last sermon before his assassination, was preaching on this text, this story. And he begins by saying, let us develop a kind of dangerous unselfishness. And he goes on to ask us to contemplate ourselves this way in our own decisions. We often ask, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? But the Samaritan reversed that question and said, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? Dangerous unselfishness. What a goal. What a goal for us. Regardless of where you find yourself in this story as the innkeeper, the Levite, the robber, the pack mule, you can grow in your knowledge, in your wisdom, in your understanding. You can lean into what it is that God is calling you to do. You can open your eyes, slow down, and truly see those around you who need to be lifted up. You could be merciful. Set with someone who is suffering. Feed someone who needs companionship or food. See someone for the beautiful child of God that they are, despite their bleeding or their nakedness or whatever it is that makes you want to look away. St. Francis wrote an amazing prayer that many of us are familiar with that I believe can help us to truly see. I invite you to pray with me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.